مولاي صل وسلم دائما أبدا على حبيبك خير الخلق كلهم.
وإذ قال ووصينا الإنسان بوالديه حملته أمه وهنا على وهن وفصاله في عامين أن اشكر لي ولوالديك إلي المصير.
We commanded man to be good in respect of his parents. His mother carried him in her womb, despite weakness upon weakness, and his weaning is in 2 years. We said to man, be grateful to me, and to your parents. To me is the ultimate return.
This verse number 14 is very important for human to know and children to know about their parents. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَوَصَّيْنَا الْإِنسَانَ بِوَالِدَيْهِ. We have commanded the mankind to do good to their parents. Here both parents are mentioned. And in particular, a mother is mentioned, the status of mother. And this is the verse, very powerful verse to understand. Allah says, حَمَلَتْهُ أُمُّهُ وَهْنًا عَلَى وَهْنٍ وَفِصَالُهُ فِي عَامٍ. His mother, or the child's mother, or her or his mother, carries the baby in the womb in the weakness, as you know, the pregnancy starts with a little stress on the mother's body, and then as the baby grows, the mother becomes more stressed from that. وَفِصَالُهُ فِي عَامٍ. And when the child is delivered, she is already feeling stressed and weakened, yet she does not complain to anybody about it. And then فِصَالُهُ فِي عَامٍ, and she nursed them for the 2 years, which is 24 months. 12 months, Amin means 2 years. And inna shkuruli wa liwalidayka. And Allah says, thank me and your parents. This is, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala elevated the status of parent, that the way you thank Allah, you should thank your parents. And if you didn't thank your parents, you did not thank Allah. This is how it is. That if your person is even just rudely talking to the parents, uff, وَلَا تَقُلْ لَهُمَا أُفٍّ وَلَا تَنْهَرْهُمَا وَقُلْ لَهُمَا قَوْلًا كَرِيمًا. In Surah Bani Israel, will come to read, it says that do not even say uff to them, and talk to them, speak with them in a very kind words. So this is something, a mother's experience of a childbirth and child nursing and growing, and they never complain, they never see anything, whenever the child is in distress, you see that the mother is not in rest till the baby become comforted, and this is not paid for her. Nobody can pay off the mothers. As we know, one of the hadiths which I mentioned before, that a man came to Prophet, he says, Ya Rasulullah, I took care of my mother, I took her for the Hajj, I carried her on my back, now she died. Did I do my duty? Prophet says, no, you did not. He says, I did everything I could. He said, because the difference is you cannot even pay back of one night she stayed up with you while she was taking care of you. And the reason, he says, that when she took care of you and raised you to be what you are, she never asked anybody, did I do my job? Here you did something and you are coming and asking me about it. That's the difference. So the parent, and especially the mother's relation to the child, is so important and so essential. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, those who are disrespectful to their parents, we will punish them and disgrace them in the dunya, and the hereafter they will be eternally lasting into the hellfire. Their worship will not be accepted. Their deeds will be wiped out as they never existed. So the parental relation, and another thing we should also know, that a person who have a non-Muslim, non-believing parents, Quran says, respect them, honor them, be kind to them. Only thing you do not do is when they command you to worship false god or other than Allah, respectfully, politely say to them, I'm not going to do that. So only one place you disobey parents is that when they ask you to worship non-God or ghair Allah or do the shirk. As those who have Christian or Hindu or Buddhist or any other parents. So we have a very strict command that even to the non-Muslim parents, we have to be very respectful and kind and obey them, care for them. Prophet ﷺ used to say that I wish, this is Prophet's wish, he used to long, he says, I wish if my mother was alive and I will be in the prayer and she will call me and I'll break my prayer and go and attend her needs. And this is how he described his longing for a mother. And I've mentioned this before, and this is a moment to reflect also that one day when he was returning back from Mecca in the last days of his life, after the Hajj, he disappeared and walked away to some place that is known while they were camping in Abwa. And what happened was the companion couldn't find Prophet. He quietly has left out. So they went out wondering where he went or what happened. Some harm may come to him. When they went there, they found him sitting near a little bit of like a grave-like elevation place with on his knee down, feet down on his feet, with holding his both knees together. And he was crying, and he was crying and weeping. He was weeping and crying so much that all the companions, they started crying and weeping. And Prophet says, I asked permission from Allah to visit my grave of my mother. Allah allowed me to do so. Then I asked permission to seek for forgiveness for her, and he says, don't need to. And this is where some ignorant interpret that his mother was not a believer. Accordingly, if he asked for her forgiveness, then she would have been counted among sinners. And she was a pure mother, pure soul. So she was a young lady when she had a birth of Muhammad Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. She was already widowed, and during 6 months of her pregnancy, a Prophet's father died. So when companions saw this mercy and love for the Prophet's mother, and you could imagine he was 63-year-old, about 63, because that was just a few days before his passing away. And this is where the love of mother is being described. When Prophet's sister, when she arrived in the Battle of Hunain, Prophet stood up. He allowed her to sit on his place of sitting, and he respected her, treated her kindly, and she asked for that, let go my people, and he forgave all of those people. So the love for the sister and the mother, and for the affection for the parents, it's the religion of really a family unit. We should be thankful to Allah for having this. And then we need to understand that no matter how much we are pious and righteous and elevated in status in the eyes of the world, even the mother was not a righteous mother. A prophet, even the non-prophets have to be, or those who are awliya Allah, they have to seek their paradise under the feet of mother. 3 times Prophet says so, as we know from the hadith. And the father, as if you look at his face with a smile, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala rewards a hajj nafil maqbool. And Prophet's companion says, Ya Rasulullah, if you see more than 1 time, he says there's no limit in the treasures of Allah. So the parent's position and parental relation to the child is a everlasting, never-ending relation. And in the hereafter, in the Jannah, people will be with the parents. Those who are in the lower Jannah will be brought to the higher Jannah if their parents in the higher level. And this is how the family will be together. Husband, wife, and children will be together. The relatives will be together, and they will be there forever and ever. There's no end to that existence. So the worldly life is a very short. People fear death. Actually, death is a very good experience, because we all have to die sooner or later. But the dying with the love that I'm going to meet my Allah, when we travel to some place, when we visit, we think that we are going to meet our loved ones and how happy we become. A believer should see death as a meeting with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Radiyallahu anhu wa radu anhu. So this is, people think that death is a bad thing. Death is actually, for a believer, is a step towards close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for eternity. And the punishment of the grave is for the disbeliever, not for the believer. These are very, very strong things to understand. If you could see that when we plan to travel, we are so excited to meet our loved ones. This death is a journey towards Allah. Angel bring us to the Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put us in a place which is called Al-Li'in. The believers go to the Al-Li'in. The disbeliever goes to the Sijin. And Prophet says Allah loves to meet with those who love to meet with him. So for us, life is a transition. It's a transformation from one form to the another form. We are here for the time and temporarily. So the death is a transformation. As in Quran, Surah Maryam, we heard Allah says, Salam be upon Yahya, when the day he born, the day he died, the day he resurrected. Same thing Isa alayhi salam said, Salam be upon me when I was born, when I die, when I'll be resurrected. So all these things tell us something very important to understand. Listen to the next verse, 15.
وَإِن جَاهَدَاكَ عَلَىٰ أَن تُشْرِكَ بِي مَا لَيْسَ لَكَ بِهِ عِلْمٌ فَلَا تُطِعْهُمَا وَصَاحِبْهُمَا فِي الدُّنْيَا مَعْرُوفًا وَاتَّبِعْ سَبِيلَ مَنْ أَنَابَ إِلَيَّ ثُمَّ إِلَيَّ مَرْجِعُكُمْ فَأُنَبِّئُكُم بِمَا كُنتُمْ تَعْمَلُونَ.
However, if they force you to ascribe partners to me about whom you can have no source of knowledge, then do not obey them. Remain with them in this world with due fairness, but follow the way of the one who has turned himself towards me. Then, towards me is your return, so I shall tell you what you have been doing.
يا بني إنها إن تك مثقال حبة من خردل فتكن في صخرة أو في السماوات أو في الأرض يأت بها الله إن الله لطيف خبير.
Luqman went on saying to his son, My dear son, in fact, if there be anything to the measure of a grain of rye, and it be hidden in a rock or in the heavens or in the earth, Allah will bring it forth. Surely Allah is all fine, all aware.
يا بني أقم الصلاة وأمر بالمعروف وانه عن المنكر واصبر على ما أصابك إن ذلك من عزم الأمور.
My dear son, establish Salah, and bid the fair and forbid the unfair, and observe patience on what befalls you. Surely, this is among the matters of determination.
ولا تصعر.
In verse 16 and 17, then he's telling to his son, Ya Bunayya. Bunayya is a word in which very affectionate parental relation is. Like he's talking to my beloved son like that. You know, all the time advising doesn't work, but this is the wisdom which he's transferring to his son. As we should do, this is what Luqman did, and we should advise to our children. And this is kind of a character building. They say, Ya Bunayya, inna taka misqala habbatin min khardalin, fatakun fi sakhratin, أو في السماوات أو في الأرض يأتي به الله. He's saying that if there is a small as a grain and a particle size of or a grain of rye is hidden in the depth of the rock, you know, the depth of the rock, with the center of the rock, which nobody can reach or bring nutrition, or in the skies or earth, Allah will get it. It means we should be very importantly believing that even though I'm going through hardship, and we do not see an end to this perpetual cycle of trouble, but we should have a faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He is watching. Allah never is not watching and not hearing and not knowing and not taking care of it. It's a destiny we are going through it. It is Allah's way to deal with us. Indeed, Allah is Latif and Khabir, that He is very fine. All Latif means some very delicateness of the depth of everything. And then He is aware of every little thing, whether it is known to that. And Ya Bunayya aqim as-salah wa'amir bil ma'ruf. O son, establish this prayer and bid the fair. The amr bil ma'ruf, do things of or command things of goodness. وَانَّهُ عَنِ الْمُنْكِرِ, and forbid from the unfair or denial of God's command and God's belief. And be patient for what hardship it strikes or befall upon you. إِنَّ ذَلِكَ مِنْ عَزْمِ الْأُمُورِ. And this is the greatest matter of determination or aware of dealing. Azm al-umur is the greatest of the thing to achieve, is that be patient in hardship. And I myself was talking about it, but we know that it's very hard. And we see our brothers sisters today in Palestine, in Kashmir, in Burma, and all over the world. Every now and then we see their hardship. And being in patient situation in this country, we should be aware of it, that unless we promote and educate people about Islam, we will be ending up with this thing. As we know, the children of prophets, Sahaba in Palestine, they are Arabs. We know that the people of Iraq and Sham and Arabia are Muslims, and their forefathers were Arabs. And what happened to them? So nothing is promised unless a person does it. For a person is nothing but what they strive for. So let's listen to this verse.
ولا تصعر خدك للناس ولا تمش في الأرض مرحا إن الله لا يحب كل مختال فخور.
And do not turn your cheek away from people, and do not walk on the earth haughtily. Surely Allah does not like anyone who is arrogant, proud.
وقصد في مشيك واغضض من صوتك إن أنكر الأصوات لصوت الحمير.
And be moderate in your walk, and lower your voice. Surely the ugliest of voices is the voice of the donkeys.
ألم تروا أن
So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving two more examples that people, when they often walk, as we know that people have their chest and head high and thinking that they can walk on the earth haughtily. Allah says that's not the way to walk. Walk with the humbleness. Inna Allah la yuhibbu kulla mukhtalin fakhur. Allah does not like those who are arrogant and proud. So pride, people when they are proud, they often have their head high and chin up and looking down on the others. This is again a sign of arrogance. We should be humble with that. Waqsid fi mashyaka. And then be moderate in your walk. And then lower your voice, and surely ugliest of the voice. People are often loud out of their hysterical behavior, and this is the example given about the voice of the donkey. Inshallah, I'll stop in here, verse number 19 of Surah Luqman today, because we started a little late. It's getting late. Inshallah, we will begin next Sunday with this. I will stop here. If you have any question, any comment, any correction, please do so. Otherwise, we